Welcome back to another episode of Between Two Clouds. I'm your host, Danny Hunt, and this is a series where we occasionally care about the folks that we interview. Today is no exception. Our guest is Jon Lloyd, and Jon is a practice principal at CBTS. Jon, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Danny. Appreciate it.
We're glad to have you. Jon, candidly, this is our first time meeting in person, and you're quite the handsome fella. I don't know that I was expecting that. Do you find that difficult for the folks around you?
Well, I don't always bribe them the way I did for you to give me that compliment, but I don't think it's quite to a Zoolander level, but I appreciate it.
I love the Zoolander reference, and I only say something because it's something I've had to cope with throughout my career. So
Right, correct.
I can empathize with you. Well, practice principle. Let's talk about that title and what that means.
Yeah, so we are still trying to figure it out. It sounds important. In reality, I've been here 13 years with CBTS, and I ran our global networking practice. We had 13 products in the networking space that we delivered to our customers. But I had responsibility for operations, for engineering, for day two support, for legal, right? Well, the lawyers had responsibility for legal, but yeah, I helped kind of craft the SOWs, the statements of work, all that. And so our job, if we do it well, is me and my team, we are an easy button for what we call strategic accounts or a strategic pursuit for Opex, for our trusted advisors to be able to go into your account and to solve a solution, solve their problem with a series of solutions holistically from A to Z. We are the easy button that can bring multiple technologies. We can do the business side, the technology side. I'll say the legal side, but if our lawyers are watching, I still always get everything double checked. And that's really it. We're supposed to remove the red tape and make it easier to consume all of these different great technologies CBTS and Opex bring to your customers.
Well, we do like the easy button, and we tend to stay away from red tape. So I'm glad that you're in that role. I consulted with Copilot prior to our conversation, and a lot of great acronyms for CBTS. I think my favorite was Caribou by the Sea. Great little spot out in California. I think you and I both know that's not what we're talking about here. Talk a little bit about CBTS, who you are, what you do.
Yeah, so for the CBTS folks watching this, they're chuckling right now. There's been a 20-year ongoing rivalry with us in Caramel by the Sea for the CBTS.com domain. So we used to be CBTS.net. We are now CBTS.com. So we know them very well. But no, that's not what we do. I think they're a bed and breakfast. We deliver business outcomes utilizing technology, people, and process for our customers. So for us, CBTS is consult, build, transform, and support. And it's really the same what I just talked about, going from A to Z, helping your customers understand where they're at today, where they need to go, helping them get there, and then helping them with day two. Really, it's, I talk about it's solving your problem today and then making sure it doesn't become a new problem in 36 months and 60 months. It's really continuing to be that technology support as you continue to evolve and grow.
Well, maybe not as exciting as the Caramel by the Sea spot, but I think probably more applicable to what we're doing on a day-in-and-day-out basis. So support, I guess the S and CBTS, that's something that you guys are well known for, and we've had a great experience with you on. I've heard an interesting story about a customer firewall that wasn't behaving as expected. You mind sharing a little bit about that story?
Yeah, so we pride ourselves on owning the outcome for our customers. Obviously, we are going to interact with your IT team. Maybe you have other IT partners. And so for us, we may be limited to what we have access to, but we pride ourselves in really helping, whether it's a vendor meet or giving ideas, even for things that we don't necessarily have responsibility. So we have a retail customer at some 2,000 locations. You'd expect 3 or 4, RMA, hardware failures a month out of that. And we had a location that was 6 or 7 every month. The Meraki firewall would fail, and we have to RMA it with Cisco. So we're working with the power company in the area to figure out, are they on a bad power grid? We're working with electricians to understand, is there some exposed wiring that's conducting lightning strikes? And through this, then we chased this for months and come to find out, ultimately, the manager at that location didn't like the location where we put the stack because their desk was too cluttered. And they were moving the Meraki firewall out of their way and sitting it on top of the microwave. And so when an employee would come in to microwave their burrito for lunch, they were microwaving our Meraki MX firewall and frying it. And so, shame on us. We didn't put that on the install guide of please don't put this, it's like caution, coffee is hot. Remember years ago, you didn't put that on there. Now
Yeah.
we know firewalls don't belong on top of microwaves.
John, that's a great story. And remind me to make a change to my firewall setup once we get off this call.
Yeah, it's not really a config. That's more a layer one change, right?
Yep. So our engineering team received recognition from your company a year or so ago, and we certainly appreciate that. And it was related to our engineers and the support and the engagement that you've had with them. You mind talking about how our two companies work together?
Yeah, so we were honored to be able to recognize your organization for the sales engineering, right? So Ben and Sean, they're phenomenal technical resources. But when we partner and work together with Opex, for us, we know that engagement, you've vetted it. Your account teams, your business teams, your analysts, you know your customers' needs. Your technical teams know the solutions that can solve those challenges, and they know that CBTS can deliver those outcomes. And so when we get engaged, it's not necessarily a sales process, it's an engineering process. Because when Opex comes to us and says CBTS would be a fit for this, it's because you've already vetted it and we know that it's going to be a great fit. So it's not wasting cycles of your customer, of Opex, of CBTS. You guys are bringing us very well qualified opportunities where we can help your customers succeed.
Well, we appreciate that recognition. Sean and Ben are great, and they're a great asset to this organization. And it's been a joy to get to work with the two of those in my role here. So, nice things to say about Opex, and I hate to say this, but there's a lot of MSPs out there. What makes CBTS different from the other folks out there in the space?
Yeah, I think, I mentioned we pride ourselves on delivering outcomes and seeing things through to the end, but also we give our customers access. We do co-management. There used to be this idea of do you want access or do you want responsibility? You couldn't, if you want access, you take responsibility. If you give that responsibility to a 24/7 partner like CBTS, you lose access. And so for us, we think that's a key differentiator. 95% of our customers never log in. They've hired CBTS for a reason. We then have 3% that want to do simple moves, adds, changes themselves, right? Why wait 8 hours to change the password to wireless SSID for, a guest network for one day, that sort of thing. And then there's the other 2% that we wish wouldn't log in, but they do. And, they tinker and they sometimes can cause problems, but that's what we're there for, is to solve those challenges after they create them.
So, I'm going to go straight to the 2% that maybe the experience wasn't as great. Can you share an example?
Yeah, so plenty of war stories. I mentioned 13 years here, and those are the ones that stick out, right? You remember the bad experiences.
Yep.
We have a different retail customer, some 800 locations homing back to a hub, and their lead engineer on the customer side and our engineer supporting the account, our lead engineer, happen to share the exact same first name, last name, spelling, everything. Obviously, the email addresses are different, but they clicked the one wrong button, they hit save, and it took down 800 locations. It turned off the tunnels from the hubs out to those branches. So immediately you're looking at the logs, and this person, this name is getting blamed. And we're trying to figure out. So we're going to our employee and saying, well, what did you do? We got to back this change up. He's like, I haven't even logged in. What are you talking about? So now we're worried, is there some fraud? Come to find out it was their employee had gone in, had clicked a button. It went down, and CBTS as an MSP, we were going to get the blame first, which is fine. We expect, it's like they always say the network is always to blame, but the manager of the network
Yep.
is always to blame. So that was we found it in 5 minutes. We rolled back the change, but an example of the 2% that it's like, if you just hadn't logged in, we would have been okay. But you got to take the risk for the reward.
Yeah, I'm sure a stressful few minutes for the guy on your team with the same name, but glad it ended
Right,
up.
the guy who didn't log in and he's catching all this blame.
Yeah. I've always taken the approach of denying as much as possible when
Right.
Well, John, I certainly enjoyed getting to know you a little better here. I appreciate you sharing a little with us. Also appreciate you not telling anything about us forgetting to record the first time. That's on me. So thanks again for taking some time to chat with us.
No, appreciate it. And yeah, maybe if I am a guest for a second time when they ask me for a funny story, I'll leave with that one. But no,
You got
appreciate
one.
Opex and the partnership, and appreciate the time, Danny.
You got it. Thanks, Sean. Thanks to everybody else who came by today. And until next time.